I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I am completely at my wit's end, and I need to know if I'm the bad guy here. Imagine working your fingers to the bone for years, sacrificing your own savings, your own peace of mind, and even a portion of your relationship, just to make sure your aging parents are taken care of, only to find out they've been treating your hard-earned money like a personal jackpot for the ultimate betrayal. I am still shaking as I type this, and honestly, I just need some outside perspective. Tell me, if you found out your parents used your emergency care fund to bankroll something so incredibly selfish that it ruined your future, would you cut them off completely, or am I being completely heartless? Let me take you back to how this whole nightmare started. About 2 years ago, my parents, who are both in their late 60s, called a big family meeting. Now, my family consists of my parents, my older brother, my younger sister, and me. My parents never really planned well for retirement. They always lived life for the moment, which meant a lot of vacations, nice cars, and zero savings. When my dad finally stopped working due to some health issues, they realized their meager pension wouldn't even cover the rent on their suburban house, let alone their medical bills and daily expenses. So, they sat the three of us down in their living room, looking incredibly frail and defeated, and asked us for help. They wept, saying they didn't want to be a burden, but they had nowhere else to turn. My older brother, who has 3 kids and a massive mortgage, immediately looked stressed. My younger sister, who was fresh out of college and drowning in entry-level debt, started crying. So as the financially stable middle child with a decent corporate job and no kids yet, the heavy lifting fell on me. We eventually agreed on a plan where my brother and sister would contribute a small monthly amount, but I would cover the lion's share, nearly $1,500 every single month, to ensure they had a comfortable apartment, good food, and their medications paid for. I had to put my plans of buying a house on hold, and my partner and I had to cancel our own vacation plans, but I told myself it was for family. For 2 years, I faithfully transferred that money on the first of every month, believing I was keeping my parents safe and healthy. Everything seemed fine on the surface. My parents were constantly thanking me, telling me I was their savior, and sending photos of their quiet, modest life. But then, a few months ago, I started noticing weird little things. Whenever I would visit them unexpectedly, the apartment looked a bit barren, almost like they weren't really living there fully. My dad's old car, which was supposed to be broken down, was missing from the driveway. When I asked about it, my mom nervously claimed a mechanic friend was fixing it for free at his shop. Then, my brother called me up one evening, sounding completely baffled. He told me he had run into a mutual family friend at a grocery store, and the friend had congratulated him on our parents' incredible new venture. When my brother asked what he meant, the friend got awkward and changed the subject. I brushed it off at first, thinking it was just a misunderstanding, but the nagging feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. I started looking closer at the bank statements from the joint account I had set up for their expenses. The money was being withdrawn in large cash sums almost immediately after I deposited it, which didn't make sense if it was meant for monthly rent and groceries. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice between ignoring my doubts or digging deeper. Before I tell you the absolutely insane truth of what happened next and how I found out, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have confronted them right then, or would you have investigated silently like I did? I decided to do some digging. I called their landlord to check if the rent was up to date, and my jaw dropped when the landlord told me that the rent hadn't been paid in full for 3 months. They were on the verge of eviction. I was furious. Where was my money going? The next weekend, I drove over to their place without warning, determined to get answers. When I arrived, nobody was home, but the spare key was where it always was. I walked inside and started searching for any clues, any receipts, anything. That's when I found a glossy folder hidden under a stack of old magazines in my dad's desk. Inside were brochures, contracts, and receipts for a luxury, high-end timeshare, and a massive investment in a sketchy multi-level marketing cryptocurrency scheme. But that wasn't even the worst part. The absolute kicker was a set of plane tickets and luxury resort reservations in my younger sister's name. It turned out my parents hadn't been using the money for medical care or rent at all. They had been funneling the majority of my cash straight to my younger sister to fund her lavish lifestyle, her European vacations, and a brand new designer wardrobe, all while my sister pretended to be broke and guilted me into paying more. My parents had bought into the lie that my sister was going to become a famous influencer and return the investment tenfold, while using my guilt to fund the entire delusion. The confrontation was explosive. When they walked in and saw me holding the documents, my mom burst into tears, but not out of guilt, out of anger that I was invading their privacy. My dad tried to puff out his chest and told me that as their child, it was my duty to give them money, and what they chose to do with it was none of my business. My sister arrived an hour later, wearing a brand new pair of expensive sunglasses bought with my money, and had the audacity to call me selfish for wanting to ruin her dreams. That was the exact moment something snapped inside me. I realized I had been used as a human piggy bank by the people who were supposed to protect me. I walked out of that apartment, went straight to my bank, and completely shut down the joint account. I blocked my parents and my sister on every single platform. I also called the landlord and told him I would not be responsible for their back rent, leaving them to face the eviction on their own. My brother is now furious with me because the financial burden has landed entirely on him, and he claims I am destroying the family over a mistake. My parents are currently facing eviction. My sister's influencer dreams are shattered because she can't afford her lifestyle, and the whole extended family is calling me a monster for abandoning my elderly parents. Looking back, I don't regret protecting myself, but the emotional toll has been heavy. It's devastating to realize that the people who raised you see you only as a financial resource to be exploited for the sake of their favorite child. The moral of this whole mess is that boundaries are necessary, even with family, and enabling toxic behavior under the guise of loyalty only leads to your own destruction. If you think I was justified in cutting them off and stopping the money, please like this video to show your support. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this, where we dive deep into the crazy realities of family drama. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below, because I'm still reading through them and trying to process everything. I'll see you all in the next story.